This video is sponsored by Surfshark. There's a lot of manga, more manga than we could ever consume in our lifetime, so this got me thinking, what's the difference between a manga released in 1973 versus one released in 1987? So to try to answer this, I decided to read a completely random manga from every single year, starting all the way back in 1970 and going up until 2023. 53 mangas smashed together in one video. Not just read them, I'm gonna rank them, put them on a tier list S to F tier. And I think you're gonna be surprised. The manga in these two tiers, tears, adrenaline, sadness, every facet of emotions you could feel when reading is what I experienced in this video. Now, I'm not going to be ranking these objectively. I'm going to rank them as a biased, dirty little slop man based on how I consume them in that moment. So if you need to scream your opinions at me, then go ahead and do so in the comments. So let's just get started off with a manga from 54 years ago. This one's pretty strange. It has an interesting art style to say the least, with what I guess you could say are unique character designs, but the entire premise of this manga is about becoming a businessman and how true businessmen are just superior. Like in the first chapter, this guy makes more money selling a booger than the entire day this guy tries to sell some dried squid. And overall, it was not really entertaining. I don't think anyone today would actually ever want to read this for fun, but I do still think it's pretty cool to maybe check out a chapter to get a feel for what it was like in the year 1970, because it's certainly different, but different doesn't mean good, so I'm putting it in F tier. This story begins 5,000 years ago, where a resident from another planet ends up stranded on Earth. Sadly, over time, this alien lost all ability to contact his friends, and giving up hope and not wanting his technology to be used to take over the planet, he spent his remaining time repurposing his system, so that years, decades, and even millennials down the line, it would be able to detect his true heir. And here we are, 5,000 years later, and this dude obtains all of the knowledge in the universe. Like, come on, nothing too crazy, he's just a normal kid. Babel 2 is about trying to protect Earth from this dude Yomi. They get into fights and bang bang spada boom, that was pretty much it. Koichi ends up obtaining powers and control over these fellas. I liked whenever he called his pterodactyl thing, it always looked pretty cool. However, if I could have any of his partners in real life, I'd want the shape-shifting panther. This manga was pretty good. The action was good, the artwork was good, the concept was good enough, and it didn't feel like I wasted my time reading. And whenever that happens in these types of videos, I'm a happy camper. B tier. I've already watched Devilman Crybaby a few years back, so I'm curious as to how it compares to the original source material. And honestly, they're surprisingly similar. If you haven't heard of it, essentially devils existed on Earth long before humans ever did. However, they got sealed in ice only for them to re-emerge years later, and this guy is aware of it all. He grabs his friend explaining the situation and tells him how they need to fight back, and there's only one way to do so: become part devil themselves. And well, I think the manga is really good. I might have to fight some of you in the comments, but I honestly wish I would have read this over watching Devilman Crybaby. But that's not to say it's bad by any means, they're just two different strokes of the same story. I think if you prefer insane visuals along with a beautiful ass soundtrack, then you should watch the anime. But if you want to see panels like this, and this, while also being able to control it at your own pace, you should read the manga. And if you really liked one version, I'm talking to you anime fans, you should definitely check out the other. Like, the first chapter had 0 words, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever read. Just don't overlook a series because it's over 50 years old now. A tier. This devastating earthquake completely destroys Tokyo, creating a post-apocalyptic world, which made a disgustingly brutal manga. People's heads get tossed around like the good old pigskin on a Sunday, and this dude Jack goes and violates evildoers in the most menacing way possible. And the fights are actually really good. They had nice, big, beautiful, gory panels that scratched that right part of my primal monkey brain, and I honestly had a great time reading. If you like this, Violent Jack would be a pretty cool read, as Miura said it was influenced for Berserk, and I think it certainly shows. Super solid, it gets a B tier. Now a word from the sponsor of this video, Surfshark. So you know what I am? a college student. You know what that means is that I gotta use my university's public Wi-Fi for all of my needs. So when I'm doing my very important and necessary research for my videos, my university's stalking my every single move. But with Surfshark VPN, this will never be a problem again, because with a VPN, it'll encrypt my online data and secure my personal information while sharing public Wi-Fi. See, Surfshark VPN is the ultimate one-stop shop for all of your online privacy needs. But what about besides security? See, Surfshark also offers access to all of the region blocked content your mind could think of. So even when you're taking a trip all the way to Antarctica, you will still have access to over 3,200 servers in 100 different countries. So if that sounds any bit enticing to you, you can use my code at surfshark.deals/bond. That's BHAN to get an extra 3 months free. Go ahead and try it. There's pretty much no risk, as Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. So go ahead and click the link in the description or the pinned comment down below. Now back to the video. Thomas Werner has died. He left a letter with his passing, expressing his true feelings. And here are my true feelings. This felt like I was reading a dictionary. I was reading the words and I understood what was happening, but my mind just didn't want to continue. I definitely didn't give this a fair chance, but I gotta put in F tier. So, well, the concept is extremely interesting. All right, imagine this. You have 1 year. 1 full year to do whatever you want, and nothing is a barrier to you. Your family's uber rich, so you can have as much money as you would ever need. So, what would you do? There is one barrier. By the end of this year, you have to bring back a bride that gets the approval of all of these people. And if just a single one says no, you'll be completely disowned from the family. But if they all accept, you'll have everything you could ever need. And this is exactly what I would do if I had the opportunity. I'm not that much of a traveler, so I'm definitely good hitting up those countries. After that, as a major introvert, I know I would be beyond exhausted, so I'd probably spend at least the next week chilling doing absolutely nothing. Now for the remaining year, I would take a much looser approach. No big travel plans, but I would have a couple things on the itinerary I would want to hit for sure. First of all, bro, get me courtside tickets to all of the March Madness games. Might as well go to the NBA Finals, and I definitely gotta get a Super Bowl ticket as well, and just whatever sick ass events that happen to pop up that I want to go to. And obviously I enjoy anime and manga, so if I had a full year, I would want to consume all of this that I just haven't gotten around to. I literally asked all my friends this exact question to see what they would say, so feel free to let me know what you would do. But the problem is, this is what the main character decided to do. So you want to fuck? Yes. This fucking happened. This was just not at all what I was expecting after the first couple pages. Like, no way I thought this was gonna be some softcore porn type shit. I don't know, it's kind of funny, but I'm putting it in F tier. I think these might be some of the stupidest looking character designs I've ever seen. Just look at how dumb and brainless they look, but I absolutely love it. I just want to pick them up and keep them in my little pocket. Essentially, this manga is a collection of short stories that all somehow revolve around death, such as the first one being about this man who is tasked to find a way to achieve eternal life, in which he creates this drug that is supposedly capable of extending one's life by 10 years. Then on a ride home in a taxi, the driver and himself both take this drug, where they seemingly get lost in another world that is identical to the one that they know. But now he's given a new objective, to create this vaporization drug, where it's as if life repeats. He spends the next 10 years working on this project to end up in the exact situation as he was before, together with the same taxi driver, where they find themselves back in the original world, with 10 years of new experiences within them, and no one else having a clue of all the time that had passed for them. This is just one example of several fascinating ideas in this manga that kept probing at the concept of time and its relation to death. And I had a great time reading. B tier. Very similar setup to this, minus violence, plus corruption, but no big punchy man. C tier. Ah, shit, man. The ending of this one's fucked up. It's a short one-shot, and this is maybe a quick 20-minute read for my queer homies watching, and if you want a bit of a tragedy, I think this is the one. For my enjoyment, I'm gonna plop it in C tier. I think I feel the most bad about rating this one, because this shit is just so old. Like, look at this. I can just smell the cigarette smoke coming from my screen, and in the year 2024, there's just no possible way to get into this. You have to fully commit and prepare for it to suck for at least 100 chapters, and like really suck. Not the One Piece is kind of bad at the start, because nope, those motherfuckers are wrong. This is the I want to claw my eyes out type of bad for at least 100 chapters. But I did get to a point later on where it did get decently interesting, such as the Chojin Olympics. It reminded me a lot of the early boxing days in Hajime no Ippo. There are also so many goddamn characters for you to become attached to and really root for. But if you want to put yourself through the fucking ringer, an absolute meat grind until your brain becomes mushy slop to just have a chance of really liking this story, then it could be a fantastic read. But it's just so long, and that just sucks a lot. And since it takes so goddamn long, and oh my god, those first couple of chapters were worse than watching kids' videos on YouTube, I can't give it anything higher than a C tier. I love boxing manga. I love it so much. It's just so good. Like, Hajime no Ippo is absolute perfection, and then Holy Land, well, it's more street fighting, but it's close enough. There's just something about fighting manga that awakens the inner monkey man inside of me. And when I start off a completely random manga and the artwork immediately looks like this, I feel like I should go place a 10-leg parlay bet. This guy right here is the magnificent loser. He's fought in so many matches and has lost way too many of them, but he is what everyone comes to see. And one time a big time promoter is at his fight, and despite his terrible record, he recognizes how talented of a boxer he really is and wants to take him to the top of the boxing world. But if he's so good, why the hell does he always lose? Well, this psychotic man is so fight hungry that before matches, he gets fucking drunk just so he can fight more. Now, although I'm giving this manga a lot of praise, it doesn't get within a 100-mile radius of the word perfection. And with it being so short, it kind of just jumped around to plot point without letting any room to breathe. I really wish this story had more time to flesh itself out, because it could have been so much better than it was. But for the fact that it was able to tell its entire story in just a single volume is pretty insane if you ask me. Although the rush nature of it does hold it back a bit, so I can't place it in anything higher than a C tier. This was real rough to read through, but essentially everyone is having this shared dream, and some people are going into comas because if you die in the dream, oh no, I wonder what happens in real life. I wasn't interested in the concept, and all the characters merged together in my mind. I kept mixing up who was who in the dream world versus the real world, and I had to really force myself to continue reading. F tier. Now immediately you're thrusted into this expansive, vast world that makes me just go, oh, what is that? And to be honest, it's really fucking cool. The world is so unique with so many different creatures all existing in a brand new ecosystem. I loved all the new creatures that were created. I would love to ride on one of these emu type bird things. I also loved how massive the world felt. There was really a sense of scale in this manga. For example, oftentimes people needed to travel to different nations for wars and such, and this travel felt like it actually took time. They didn't immediately teleport to where they're trying to go. They all got in their aircrafts and flew through the goddamn air. And even while flying, the story was still able to progress in a way that didn't feel like I took 17 melatonin gummies. And well, it's kind of what you expect from a Miyazaki work. Environmental stuff, female protagonists, awesome world building, and a little bit of fantasy and solid writing. However, there's one thing that I didn't love. For me, the politics of the world with the conflicting nations did get pretty overbearing at times, which does hold it back a bit. Like, there was this middle stretch in the manga where it felt like we just travel from one war to another war to another war, and that's fine, but I kind of feel like an idiot if I say this. Sometimes it felt like there was just too much text. Now, with that being said, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I think this might be my favorite Miyazaki/Ghibli work that I've consumed. I haven't consumed all of them, but again, the scale and liveliness of this world was by far and away the best part to me. Now, this might be a little crazy, but I'm putting it in A tier. So I like JoJo's. Ever since I first watched it, it's always been one of my top 5 favorite series. I just adore the over-the-top absurdity that is jam-packed into every part, and Cool Shock BT is the first serialized work that Araki has ever made. It's composed of 6 short stories all revolving around this guy, BT, and whatever schemes and trickery he can pull off. Like there was this one part where they pulled off a fake death prank just to fuck over some guy they didn't like. I always think it's really cool to read earlier works of an author you really enjoy. You can see the insane evolution and where inspiration for later works originate from. Now, I have not asked Araki, but I'm pretty sure BT's mischievous nature and character design 1,000,000% influenced the design of early Dio. And also, this dude's Koichi. He's literally just Koichi. But to be honest, objectively this manga isn't that good. So if you have no care for Araki or JoJo's, there's absolutely no reason to ever read it. But because I'm me and I have these, I thought it was really interesting. So I'm gonna place it here in, let's say, C tier. Ah, how cute. What a sweet story about being transported to Snow White's fairy tale world. And then there's, never mind. There is nothing else going for it. F tier. I'ma just say this up front. I have a weird relationship with mecha. I've watched a couple of the biggest mecha anime, and it's strange because I can objectively look at it and be like, this is good. But for some reason, all of this just doesn't really get the fireworks going off in my brain the way it does for many people. Like, I wish someone could explain to me what they like about mecha so much. So go ahead in the comments and tell me why it's your thing. However, I made sure going into this, I was gonna come in raw. I was gonna come in fresh to give it a 217% fair chance. And it was actually not bad. So essentially there's this massive corporation that's creating these biomechanical transformations, but a test subject manages to escape them. Yet while on the run, he eventually gets caught, and in a panic, he kills himself, launching a very special unit called the Guyver right next to these fellas, where it happens to latch onto and become a part of him. Essentially, the Kronos Corporation is trying to get back the Guyvers that they lost. Meanwhile, these guys beat up anyone who tries to cause them problems. And it was pretty entertaining. Now, I do have to say, this is old, so it has some old tropey vibes, you know? For example, we have this Hall of Fame mind-reading sideline commentator who knows and mentions every minute detail of a fight as if he was inside the bodies of the people fighting. But besides that, it was pretty pleasant. The paneling is super clean and easy to follow, which is perfect for my dumb little brain. It also had an intriguing enough of a premise that didn't make it awful to get through, so I'm gonna place it here in B tier. I'm pretty unfamiliar with a lot of Urasawa's works. I know he's made these and they're renowned for being some of the best manga ever, but I've only ever read Pluto, and it was one of the first manga I've ever finished, and I definitely didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. So I was hoping to get a true taste of what Urasawa was all about, and something about his writing had me so hooked. Essentially, our main character is getting trained by her grandfather, a 5-time judo champion, to become a star. Someone so dominant, you only really see it with the greats like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, and Dick Paradise. But she isn't as interested. All she really wants is to become a normal girl. Although over time, she starts to question this and understand the true value judo brings to her life. Now, there's something that Urasawa does in this manga that couldn't get me to stop reading. And honestly, it's so simple yet effective. I don't know why it had me so compelled. Out the gate, we're introduced to this goal that this girl right here is going to win gold at the 1992 Olympics and also take home the People's Honors Choice Award. And I don't know why, but this super blatant explanation of a goal is something that my stupid brain fucking loves. The entire time when reading, I was just so curious about what was gonna happen next. This was a lighthearted, fun comedy sports manga that really didn't feel that much like a sports manga. It somehow took all the aspects that I love about sports manga and was able to combine it with the elements of character exploration that somehow meshed really well together. To the point where it made me just keep on saying, I'll just read one more chapter. I think this might be a real surprise, but it's a sneaky A tier. The author of this, Osamu Tezuka, is often referred to as the godfather of manga. And from reading this, I can kind of understand why. I was honestly locked in immediately because of how crystal clear this is to read. And well, it's really sad this couldn't have been adapted further due to his passing a couple years later. Essentially what we get is the preliminary retelling of Ludwig von Beethoven's life. Now normally I like to try to do some basic animations to the manga panels to give them some more life while watching, but this manga just doesn't need it. Like, look at this sequence of panels. He's practically doing the animations himself. Like, god damn, Tezuka was brilliant. And if I could, I would have given him a slappy smooch right across the forehead. I think this gets a super strong B tier. Hey, do you like typical romance stories but are getting a little bored of the same school setting? Well, I've got something for you. A romance, but with actors. Alright, I did start to enjoy what was gonna happen with the main girl and director student after things got to develop a little further, but this is like a lot of other romance stories, which isn't a bad thing. I like the characters in this one, and these two had a pretty good dynamic. And for a good romance, you kinda need some of the main characters to really click well in your mushy brain to make it good, so this makes it a little stronger for me than other romances, but it doesn't really get anything higher than a C tier. This one's very similar to this in the way that it just goes through the plot super fast. The difference here is that this is about gambling to the death while playing Mahjong. I do not know what the hell Mahjong is, and they don't really explain it. If I knew what it was, I think I would have liked this one a lot more. I like the art style and the overall plot is pretty basic, so I'm gonna place it here in C tier. This is gonna be completely incoherent. I apologize in advance, but at the same time I don't, because the story was a little incoherent as well, yet in the best way you could possibly think of. So to try to explain it, this guy diffuses. He literally starts to spread out into nothingness all over the world, and I've spent so much time sitting here trying to figure out what the hell that means, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think my best guess is about trying to figure out a greater purpose in your own life, as throughout the manga he gets transported to different parts of the world where he meets new people, starts to understand their problems, while figuring out more about who and what he is. Now there was this mystique to the plot that really had me itching to keep on reading. I wanted to know what the hell the diffusion was and how all the people he interacted with are going to be affected. The story kept on probing at my mind to be like, think of things, have thoughts, and I was in a state where I could feel the gears turning in my head, but the only thing I could output was just interest in what was going to happen next. And that is really the best way I can describe it. I think the art and the panels are really cool, but at the same time, the way the author drew faces sometimes actually freaked me out a little bit. I read this at 3 a.m. because I'm a sicko who does sick things, but when I saw this, I could literally feel my heartbeat increase. It was like if these two authors did a fusion dance to make this manga, and that's pretty good if you ask me, so I'm gonna place it here in A tier. This manga is about why we tend to like certain people, why you're just drawn to someone for literally no reason, even when they lock you in a room blindfolded for multiple hours on end, telling you nothing about why, but for some strange psychedelic cult experience. However, this manga in its own twisted, strange ways was not bad. The artwork is good, and it's like uncomfortably wholesome. So I think it deserves a C tier. My favorite thing to do when I start a new manga is I want to go in 100% blind. And I mean wearing an eye mask with blackout curtains 100% blind. I do not want to know a single thing. Like, I do not care that this character is actually based on another character from the author's previous work, or that the author has 27 years of experience in toe paintings. I want to save all of that shit for after, once I already really enjoy and become a super fan of a given series. But the massive problem with me knowing absolutely nothing before reading a lot of these series is that I can get lost in the manga vortex of how to consume it. Like, I cannot tell you how many times in these videos that a manga actually reads from left to right, and for 3 chapters now I had been reading the entire thing wrong, and that's why I had no idea what the fuck was happening. And well, this manga kind of fell into the same trap. Apparently it's a collection of one-shots, so imagine how confused I was when for the first 2 chapters it follows this romantic grave robbing story, and then chapter 3 starts and it's about how your childhood friend became so famous that he doesn't even want to talk to you anymore. Things like these really do mess up my enjoyment, but I also wasn't really that interested in the one-shots to begin with. I think the second one shot was actually pretty decent. It had this one twist where the childhood friend was actually dead and someone was just pretending to be him the entire time. But overall, I would have preferred to lose $5 betting on pig races with the homies, so I'll place it here in D tier. Well, I know what this means now. I don't think any manga has impacted me in the way that this one has. Not even Night Patrol Sensei from this video. And if you've read that one, you know how much it just touches deep in your soul. It seems like a lot of these manga that are based on true stories really resonate with me. It's something about the realness that always gets me reflecting when I just never do that. And well, I honestly don't think a lot of you will have the same reaction I did if you were to read it. Sometimes you just happen to read a story that hits a certain note within you to feel some type of way that nothing else can really do. Sometimes you just happen to cross paths with the right thing at the right time, and it just makes you want to be vulnerable and cuddle up with your Pachita plushie. And luckily for me, A Journal of My Father was the right thing at the right time. Yoichi works hard. He's dedicated himself to his career and his new family in Tokyo, but that also means he's forgotten something. It's been 15 years. 15 years since he visited his hometown. 15 years since he last saw his father. And 15 years since he was able to be nostalgic about his family. He's run away at the same pace since he first left without a single thought about looking back. Anytime an opportunity would arrive about making a return, it was brushed to the side because he's too busy. And then one day at work, he's informed of something. His father passed away. So now after all this time, he has to stand before everyone and pretend he hasn't been avoiding this exact situation. But it's odd, because instead of making steps forward like he thought he was doing, everything in his mind is walking backwards. All the memories he suppressed all float to the top to be shared with everyone. He recalls the first time he found out about his parents splitting up, or that time his father and uncle saved his dog from a house fire. As well, he remembers joining the track team, running day after day to escape from his own life. And reading this, how can it just not make you think about your own life? Think about the relationships you have with your parents and some of your greatest moments you've ever had, but also some of the worst. And to me, any story that is able to generate this level of self-reflection, as well as making me ugly cry as if I found out I had a terminal illness, solidifies itself as a bona fide S tier manga. Again, I really have no idea if many people would have any semblance of a similar reaction as I did, but if you're in a mood to possibly want to bawl your eyes out, or maybe just want to know what the fuck got me yapping this hard, then check it out. It was only 12 chapters. This is some Yakuza romance type story that was just a little bit aggressive. It's only 6 chapters, but it wasn't really for me. So I'm gonna put it here in F tier. This has been on my plan to read list for the longest time. And right away, this has one of the most fun and entertaining concepts in all of manga. It's about a game of rock, paper, scissors. So essentially they take all of the losers of the world with incredible amounts of scam debt and they give them a little bit of hope. They say, hey, there's this place where you can win off all of your debt in just a single night. So they're kind of given no choice but to say yeah. All these people are thrown on a cruise ship, given a choice of varying amounts of money, and are forced to gamble in a game they have no idea what it could be. But the winners get to leave happy, and the losers, you just don't want to know what happens to them. So how the hell do they make rock, paper, scissors of all games entertaining? They add restrictions. They limit the amount of cards you can play. You can only play 4 of each of rock, paper, and scissors. And once they're gone, they can't be used again. You also only get 3 lives, and in each game, you either win a life, lose a life, or it's a draw. That's it. That is it. So obviously, when I heard the concept of the game, I sat there for a couple minutes and tried to think of what strategies would I try to employ. I thought, we have this cash that they let us borrow, so what could I do with it? I thought maybe I could buy people's cards off them. Since you have all the lives at the beginning, there's no reason to play at all, and maybe someone would just sell me their cards, or maybe just give them away altogether, and that was really the extent of my strategy. But as I kept on reading, they would mention the beginning strategies of their own plans, and I would sit there for a bit again and try to think, okay, what are they trying to do? They're looking for someone who has 5 lives and just played a rock and a paper. What the hell does that mean? Obviously, I had no idea. I kept on reading, and eventually they would create these insane 5D chess move strategies that I had no chance of ever thinking of. And this just continues on, and I was just so invested. This manga does such a good job of leaving little cookie crumbs right in front of you to nibble on and be satisfied with until it keeps on increasing the stakes higher and higher, because then you have no choice. I just needed to know what was going to happen next. This manga is a little dangerous though, because I think, oh man, it would be a lot of fun to play poker with the boys or gamble on a game of Mario Party. Overall, this was wildly entertaining. It does lack a little bit of emotional resonance I look for out of an S tier manga, so I'll place it here in A tier. I read this whole thing and I'm not sure if I understood what was happening, but at the same time, I like looking at it, man. We have this futuristic world where humans can be born with special powers, where this one is just too OP, and in fear of what she could do to the world, she's locked away for good, until someone in the government grants her a wish to travel somewhere far away under the guidance of this guy, where for the rest of the manga, they're just trying to get to the end location while fighting off government dogs coming after them. But what was really cool about this manga is that it was unlike anything I've ever read before. The chapters were insanely short, and it tried as hard as possible to not be boxed in by typical manga panels. And this worked so well. It's a quick enough read that reading the first volume will give you a cool experience you don't often find from other manga, and it's something that I don't think could really be replicated in anime, which makes reading this super unique. I don't think the plot was anything too memorable, so that certainly holds it back a bit from being one of the best, but the experience I had with this is one of a kind. I liked it a lot, and I'm gonna place it here in B tier. I just love me a collection of one-shots. Okay, well, I do for authors I already love, but when I don't know anything about them, it's kind of just a slog. My favorite of all of these ones though was Chapter 4, a quick romance story about walking in the rain. I wasn't really a huge fan though, D tier. See, I've already read everything from the year 2000, so let's just roll for fun and see what we get. No! The romance genre is hard, and some of you will like a more innocent high school story where the main character can see a ghost and is told she only has 1 month to live. But this didn't really touch my earlobes like I wanted it to. Wasn't bad though, just a little unforgettable to me, so it gets a D tier. I'm gonna say it. I'm about to expose myself. I am a smelly little guy because I like Smashy Bros. So with that being said, my only exposure to the Samus or Metroid series comes from Smash. So I really had no idea about any of the lore. And from what I can tell, it goes something like this. Samus is baby. Ridley come to Earth. Earth has power. Ridley want power. Ridley destroy. Samus, only survivor. But Ridley, you stupid fucker. Samus raised by old bird. Old bird make her strong. Samus become galaxy protector. But old bird has Metroid parasite. Ridley want, so Ridley do bad things. Samus come to the rescue. The end. Sorry, that was really fucking stupid. But Metroid was a short 16-chapter story that felt like it kinda had to rush through to cover the fundamentals of the series. At least that's what it felt like to me. Yet the entire time reading, it made me feel really nostalgic and has gotten me itching to play all of these old GameCube games that I've just never touched. And it's been a month since I've read it, and I haven't played any of them. But I swear, I'll be coming for you guys one day. It gets a C tier. 2003, my birth year. The manga I got for this year happens to be a true hidden gem, something I found to be really special. So I'ma save it for later, and it might just be one of the sneakiest best manga I've found in any of my videos. I love my dog. Look at him, man. He's so cute and old and ugly at the same time, and the whole appeal of this manga is that you just get to see some cute ass dogs. And I guess there's also an anime girl, so that too if you care. But essentially there's this dog store that's looking to hire some people, and this girl just has this supernatural instinct that knows exactly what dogs are feeling. The store owner and the girl meet each other. She offers to work because she's been looking for a job, and here we are. I like dogs, so I'm gonna place it in C tier. This one's a comedy series, but comedy super duper hard to execute in manga, so I didn't have a lot of expectations going in, and this one just continues to play off on a gag that everything goes right for this guy. But he's just the most arrogant piece of shit ever. Like, he saves someone from a robbery, he also then saves someone from bullies, and everyone now thinks he's the most awesome, noble person ever. Except for these people. They all know the truth, but each of them, for their own reasons, don't want that truth to be known, and it's just really stupid. But a couple times it did make me chuckle a little bit, which is something I rarely do while reading, so for that reason alone, I gotta place it in B tier. Kingdom is peak. I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I think the romance genre is without a doubt the hardest genre of any medium to recommend to someone. That's because I have my own specific taste for what I like, which is going to be completely different from your tastes. Or maybe you think the whole genre itself is stinky ball sweat, and that's okay. The main character is a 26-year-old manga author who has zero interest or time in getting a boyfriend. All she wants is to get better at her work, but she has this friend that convinces her in order to write good romance stories, she needs to experience a little bit of romance herself. And still, she just doesn't really care, but to satisfy her friend's desires, she attends a mixer. And let's just say something might have changed her mind about a possible relationship. And this was great. I loved the characters, I thought the romance dynamic was good, I love the art style, and it finally felt like I could read a romance with adults. Something that is so rare in manga. When it's done in a way like this, I can't help but be satisfied like a plump little piggy. It had the perfect amount of wholesomeness while at the same time had enough entanglements and drama that it didn't get boring. So, thank you. I read the whole thing like it was nothing, and it gets a definite A tier at least. As someone who's attempting to be a bit of a creative, I think I relate a lot to this. This guy is a beyond talented calligrapher. He wins just so many awards, but he actually sucks. Everything he does is too by the book. It's like studying to get the perfect A+, and then forgetting everything immediately afterwards. His calligraphy just doesn't have any depth. Nothing about it is able to resonate with anyone since it's just another carbon copy of what already works. Yeah, feel that one. So he's sent to live on Japan's most western island, thinking he'll have all the time in the world to master his craft. But, not quite. There's this thing. This had a bit more slice of life than what I initially expected, but I really appreciate the message that in order to succeed at doing something creative, you need to have other life experiences to help influence and shape the fluidity of your creative endeavor. And all the external factors might just be as valuable for inspiration. Also, I really like the aspect of him living on this island really impacted his new way of living. Since it's so small, everyone likes to help one another out, and this was something he just hadn't really experienced before. Like, there was this one short story about an unmotivated student needing to deliver some food to him, because that's just what they do. And in the process, he sees this. Shit. He and I both start to realize in this moment how much work you gotta put in if you want to be great at something, which reminds me of a story my dad used to tell me. He told me that Larry Bird, yep, this guy right here, would practice so much that the tips of his fingers would start to bleed. I don't have a goddamn clue if that's remotely true or not, but it puts into perspective the level of coded time investment you need to be great at anything. And I really rock with that. It's been ingrained into my mind brain to really love the idea of working hard. However, I think one thing that holds me back from getting on my knees for this manga is I found a lot of the characters so far to be kinda unamusing. Nothing about them made me latch on to real hard and wanting to get to know them a lot better. But what this manga really nails are the wholesome character interactions. And because of all of this, I think I should put it in B tier. What we have here is a boy band group manga, and well, it was... Actually, let's just listen to this song I made about the manga. Never mind, I ain't doing all that. F tier. I have no idea why I kept on reading this for as long as I did, but for some reason, something within me just wanted to keep on rooting for this guy. And no, it's not because he followed his crush to an idol concert. It's because he becomes the greatest female idol the world has ever seen. So his crush really likes this one idol group, and there's actually an open audition, but she is nervous, like really nervous. So his genius idea to ease her nerves was to cross-dress and go to the audition himself. And the rest is history. Now, this is such a goofy concept on paper, but somehow it just works. All of the effort he puts in is tied to him wanting his crush to succeed, but at the same time, he becomes such a good leader for the group. It made me just want to stand up and clap my hands. I like the characters a lot, and for how dumb the concept is, it has this charm to it that really made it engaging to read. It's a weird one, but I think it gets a B tier. This felt very, very similar to a lot of mid-2000s slice of life anime. It's set in a school with there being one super enthusiastic character, one weak, nerdy type character, one depressed, leave me alone type character, and the main character being some guy who's just given up on everything. But the one gimmick that this manga has to make it at least a little different is that 1, all these characters are named Sakura, and 2, they're on the same team for the notorious Field Day episode. And while this manga didn't really stand out that much to me, I'm gonna give it a C tier. See, I hate to admit this, but a year ago now I was on a disgusting, lonely, depraved binge where I happened to read this. I heard some people talk about it one time, had no idea what it was about, but I liked the art style and decided to read it. But the thing is, this manga reaches deep down in the steaming dumpster of hot, trashy manga. And depending on what type of person you are, you'll either want to know more or think anyone who touches this with a 15-foot pole is a disgusting, sick freakazoid. So here's a brief overview. These two are just perfect. From the outside looking in, they are the ideal couple. Two of the most popular people in school just happen to be a match for one another. And I just love me some good, wholesome romance. Huh? What did she just say? I'm pretty sure her name is not Akane-san. What kind of tomfoolery is going on here? Well, let's just say it gets pretty messy. It gets pretty trashy. Why did I continue reading this? How many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. I'm gonna place this right here and move on with my life. So let me tell you a quick story that I promise is extremely relevant to this manga. See, the thing is, Haikyuu is one of my favorite anime ever. It's something about working together while at the same time wanting to try so fucking hard at something that makes me think back to when I was like 10 and I would dream about hitting a game winner in a state title game. And it somehow constantly replicates the feelings of intensity, stakes, and passion that really makes me miss playing basketball at a competitive level. And well, I thought I could share this love with others. So one day I proposed to my roommates, hey, we should watch Haikyuu. I think you guys would really like it. We then proceeded to watch one episode. They laughed in my face and thought it was the stupidest shit they had ever seen. And it's not like the story itself is bad. Like, me and so many other people love Haikyuu. It's just that my roommates couldn't buy in. They saw one part that rubbed them the wrong way and were immediately turned off by it. And that's okay. Not everything I love has to be for someone else. But I hate to say that I just couldn't buy into this manga. Let me tell you what it's about. We have this main character who's weak, frail, and honestly an annoying little shitter. Like, think about the most feeble, overly happy, and God, I want to punch the shit out of him type character. That's this guy. And who could have guessed he's getting bullied? But then, wait a second. Hey, what are you doing? What did I do? I'm only being human. Do you remember those old bullying commercials they might have showed you in school? Something like this.
I touched it. Talk to him, coach. I touched it. It's their ball.
This moment felt like it came straight out of that. I was half expecting in the next panel, he was gonna wink, give a corny ass smile, and then put his thumbs up. I think what pissed me off the most is that this is not a real person. And this is not a real person. Like, how in the fuck does this happen? How does one jump, do the splits in the air while getting a soccer ball vasectomy, but then continue with a stupid smile on his face and giving 200% effort? See, there's levels of camp that don't even begin to describe how cheesy this shit was at times. But I have to admit, he tries hard. He by far puts in more work than anyone else, but since he's so dog shit, he better be. See, I think if you're able to buy in and come in knowing the levels of embarrassing tropiness, you can end up really liking what this story has to offer. It just might be worth the payoff. There's certainly moments where I couldn't help but be like, all right, maybe this guy isn't so bad. I think I could maybe give this a shot again, but since I couldn't, it gets the very bottom of C tier. Ladies gotta put this guy to sleep or they die. Pretty boring. It put me to sleep reading. F tier. I was just kind of underwhelmed. The characters didn't interest me. The concept was forgettable, but it has some fire ass volume covers. And because I like the covers, I'ma place it in D tier. It's always so fresh to start a new fantasy manga, and right from the gate, it feels so buttery. And it's in the way the scenery is drawn, the way the creatures interact with the environment, and the way the characters mix together with this. And for me, it's the first hook to actually get me invested in a fantasy series. Like, sometimes you can just tell when an author has put a lot of thought into their fantasy world to make it really mesh well together. And this manga touched that mental button in my mind. The world is just fantastic. Like, boom, this panel's great, this panel's great, and this panel's great. And well, essentially this chick went to the most renowned magic school, but wants to be trained by the world's strongest witch. But becoming her apprentice wasn't what she was expecting. To be honest, I had a lot of fun. I loved the art style, the world building, and the characters. Reading it felt like drinking a tall glass of water after busting your brother's ass in a game of one-on-one. B tier. I've had to read a lot of BL manga only because of this video, but out of all of the ones I've checked out, this was probably the best. It's super short at only 6 chapters and was just straight to the point. The character designs remind me a lot of this, and I like this. It kind of has a basic setup with one of the characters being a nerd and the other being an outgoing goofball, but it wasn't bad at all. And I honestly can't complain one bit. It hit the romance beat well, and if this is your type of peanut butter, then I think you would have a great time. It gets a solid but not amazing C tier. Yeah, baby! Give me more trashy gore thriller junk food type manga, please. I'll eat this up any day of the week. For what this is, it's one of the most fun manga I read during this whole video. An evil spirit is possessing this chick. They do some spirit hunting type shit, and this leads to awesome fight scenes. This is insane. Just looking at this makes me do a little shaky dance in fear, and I love it. This artwork awakens my munchy trash receptors to just enjoy something so painfully mediocre. The plot is whatever, it's just very unforgettable, but the situations the characters are put in to show off the artwork makes it such a fun read. Being able to put things like zombies, spirits, gore, sick ass fight scenes, and anime girls in a big old pot, mix them together to just create art. It's like eating a full Caniac combo from Cane's. It feels so good, but it hurts so bad. This does suffer from being anything deeper than, oh look, scary spirit, let's kill evil spirit. But I honestly don't care. Super strong, super fun, awesome B tier manga. This is set in a fantasy type RPG world and is from the perspective of this Demon King. It starts off with the heroine charging in with a full head of steam to take down our odd protagonist. She stood no chance. But you want to know the weirdest part about being a Demon King? It's that after he knocks out the people trying to attack him, he walks them back to their homes. He carries them like little babies in his arms, and with the final person he takes back to their home, he encounters her. Want to take a wild stab at what happens next? I think immediately if you hear this vague outline, you'll already know if you would like this or not, but this just isn't really my personal preference. However, I can definitely understand the redeeming qualities, as it was actually a decently wholesome story about this new family just trying to figure out how to live together. Ultimately, it's not really for me, but I liked it enough to place it in C tier. Alright, let's take a second to think about something. Did you ever have a teacher you hated so much you wish you could just wail on them? Yeah, no, I never had that. But one time sophomore year in high school, I swear to God, I had the worst English teacher of all time. She talked to us as if we were 5-year-olds, and I didn't learn a single thing all year. I guess it kind of makes sense as to why my writing is so dogshit now, but let's revisit that question in reverse. Do you think teachers want to be our annoying asses? Some of them? Absolutely. Some people in school are the most insufferable people of all time, and this manga is what happens when you let all hell break loose. You take bullying to the edge of suicide, teachers get killed by students, and then this guy comes in to let everyone's true feelings free. And I just think this is kinda an odd way to convey whatever message was trying to be said. It honestly made me feel pretty uncomfortable, so I have to place it in D tier. Why in chapter 1 does bro just got his cock and ball out? Like, for what reason? This immediately kind of weirded me out for the rest of the manga, so I might be a bit more critical than maybe I should. This is a romance story that focuses on this country girl. She has always wanted to live in the city, so she decided to go to university in Tokyo. But she's broke as shit, so she needs to live in a boarding house that has 4 other people in it. And one of them is this guy. He's a played up sex lord that can get any woman he desires. Obviously, she becomes interested in him, but not interested at the same time, and this is where the games begin. I think what the selling point of this manga is trying to be is exploring the relationship between a party that consists of someone who's inexperienced and someone who's extremely experienced. But they both want to make things work out eventually. And well, it's okay. I think what rubbed me the wrong way is that it felt very tropey and a little bit cliche at times, so it kind of just made me scratch my head, but it wasn't bad. It's a junk food type romance story, so it gets a C tier. In the randomizer that I used for this video, they also included manhwa, and at the time I had never read a manhwa before, so my very first experience is with something called The Lazy Sword Master. And right away, let me just say, manhwa's pretty cool. We have this guy chosen by the Holy Sword to be the savior of mankind versus the last absolute evil. With the tip of his blade ready to win it all, he gives up. He's then reborn into the #1 swordsman family, and of course he's cracked out of his mind, so all day he just chills looking up at the clouds. So everyone thinks he's just a massive bum, but he's actually better than anyone could ever imagine. And this starts to become known when assassins are sent after his mother. And holy shit, the paneling is so sick. Just look. See, I don't know if the effect is coming off the same way in video, but when I was reading it and how it starts off blurry, but as you scroll up to catch up to his moving body, it makes the action feel so clean. It feels like he literally just jumped out of that spot to dash toward his opponent, and this is something totally different from what I've come to expect from manga. So I had an entertaining time reading this, but at the same time I didn't really care for the plot and was mostly just geeking out over the new cool art form I've discovered. So it gets a super strong, solid C tier. This is kind of your typical love square type manga, where she likes him, but she also likes him, but she was faster and asked him out, and then this guy's like, yeah, whatever, but he likes her, and this guy's just confused, so she, hurt and lonely, starts to maybe like him. Wait, does he actually like her? And then this guy comes into the picture and has a crush on her, but at the same time, these two are dating and she genuinely has feelings for him. So what the fuck does she do now? Stay with OG while they're dating, head ass so she always wanted, but now no longer wants because he's rejected her. Yeah. Just kind of a big clusterfuck, but in a wholesome, honest way. Not the like spicy dumpster fire I like my sister type of way. Now, sometimes with these series, I fall into a trap where I don't think it's that good, but it's also not bad. It floats in this purgatory of, yeah. But sometimes I tell myself I'm gonna stop reading at a certain point just to save myself some time. But then I go on to finish the chapter, click on the next page, tell myself I'll just read 5 more pages and end up spending an extra hour reading. But again, it's not good in the ways that this is good. So I'll end up forgetting everything as soon as I take my midday power nap. I don't know. How do I rank this? It's like eating 5 gummy bears. I do it and I'm content, but also maybe it would have been better if I didn't do it at all. I guess I gotta give it a C tier. Now remember how I saved one for later? The time to talk about it is now. My favorite thing about making these types of videos are finding true hidden gems. And right from the first chapter, right from the first couple of pages, I fell in love at first sight. What I strive for when reading a new manga is this euphoric feeling of adrenaline. I don't know if other people experience the same thing, but it's this feeling where my heart starts racing, my eyes just get sucked into the page, and my finger keeps swiping as I can't help but turn the page as fast as possible. And then there's this massive pit of emotions and vulnerability that I feel in my chest. And every time I start a new manga, this is what I hope for. Now, there's this little boy who is as obedient as he could be. He never wants to cause his father any problems because he works hard. He has to work long hours to be able to support this little family that they have. It's sad. This boy wants the attention he knows other people are getting, but the first chapter has this emotional juxtaposition where the boy is alone and sad, yet the dad is thinking about how happy he's about to make his son if he can gift him something he loves. Just look at this smile. It brings so much joy to my heart. They take this go-kart to a racetrack, and it sucks. It was built poorly, but you know who doesn't give a fuck? This kid. He was going to drive it and have more fun than anyone could ever imagine. But where this manga thrives is when he expresses his unfiltered desires to achieve something, even when it's as small as driving in a straight line in this shitty-ass go-kart. Whenever this happened, it created tension and anticipation about what would happen next, and I absolutely love this. I would become like a little kid brimming with excitement when he would just pass someone in a race, or when he tries to hit the perfect Mario Kart time trials line on a turn. But by far and away, what I loved most in this manga is that it was able to make me miss competing. There are tons of these tense head-to-head moments that replicated this feeling of intensity that I've only ever had in sports before. And it just made me miss being in a high-stakes match where you just want to win so bad and there's just no time left, so you have to push your body to run and move in ways you didn't even know were possible. And oddly enough, I think the feeling of adrenaline I get when I've played sports and what I strive for when reading a manga are pretty much the same, and every chapter I read gave me that feeling. I love this. I fucking love this. It had everything I would ever want out of a manga. S tier. Well, this is the tier list of a random manga from every single year. If you enjoyed, subscribe. That's it. Bye-bye. Also, thanks Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description.